Hey guys, thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, and we're just going to be looking at this primary logarithmic regression band. So if you're not familiar with it, we've talked about this in prior videos where we just take what I would deem, say, non-bubble data, and we get this logarithmic regression curve. We get the best fit for it. And then we plot that fit over top the data, which you can see here. And then we apply a band to the data, which is kind of like just like a price tolerance to say, okay, well, historically buying when Bitcoin is in this band has been a good time to buy. So, I just published a video recently on, on the coronavirus, on COVID-19, on the fact that oil prices are dropping, and it seems like Bitcoin's following along. But we also have to look at the bigger picture, and while the price of Bitcoin is almost assuredly, being somewhat affected by the rest of the global markets, it's actually still on course in terms of the macro level view of it. So if we were just to plot this, this tolerance band, you can see that we've followed this curve for the most part. You can see we're basically right on it over here. Here we come down to this primary logarithmic regression line. Over here, we're right above it or below it for the entirety of 2015 and 2016, and it's not until 2017 that we pop above it. And you can see that in late 2018 we dropped back into it, and then this corresponded to a good time to buy. Obviously, it was hard to prove it at the time, but we were saying, we're at the 200-week moving average. This is historically, this is a great time to buy. And then we popped above it, corresponding to those higher risk levels, came back down. Again, this was when people were a little skeptical. They were saying it was going to 1,000. They were saying it was going to 2,000. Same people, mind you, that say that it's going to 100,000 the minute it ticks up a few K. And then we came up. We just barely breached the top of that tolerance level, and then we've come right back down to this primary band. Now, if you look historically, when we've come down to this band, we're not actually in it that long before you would be in some profits. For instance, if you had bought it over here, you would have almost instantly seen ridiculous profits. But we do know that Bitcoin is seeing diminishing returns and reduced volatility. Here, if you had bought it when we came into the band, you would have seen almost immediate returns. Here, obviously almost immediate returns. And when I say almost immediate returns, I don't mean on a daily time frame. This chart here covers over a decade. So, even a few data points here, just like a small portion of this graph can be a few months. So do consider that when I say, not a long time, or in the short term, it still could be several months away. But you can see we came into the band and we promptly exited it. Again, when we came back in, we were not there very long, and we left it again. And then from this point, when we left the band, we didn't return to it for 2 years, which is a really long period of time. For this region over here, it was about half a year. This one was 2 years. And this one was from, not the beginning of 2017, but maybe second quarter of 2017 until the end of 2018. So almost 2 years. Here we were not in it, or we were not out of it very long before coming back in. You can see that in a sense almost emulates something similar to this region over here. But again, if you had been buying it in this region, it wouldn't have taken too terribly long to see modest price gains, even remaining inside this band. So that's something to consider as well. So, looking back, people always wish, right, that they buy Bitcoin when it gets to these levels, especially when we're at these levels up here. People look back and say, oh, why didn't I buy more? Well, the reason you didn't is because a lot of people are scared and are fearful of especially external market factors. Each of these times corresponded to something different. We're not going to go through them, but the current one, obviously, what's going on is the COVID-19 scare, and the fact that it's disrupting the world economy, manufacturing. People aren't traveling as much. Oil prices are tanking because of the arguments with Saudi Arabia and Russia. So there's always something that is going to cause, or people could say that it's the catalyst for Bitcoin to go to zero. But even through some really hard times in the past, whether it was Mt. Gox getting hacked or anything like that, it always stayed within this regression band that you see. Um, I have talked about extending this, into the future, and we've done it before. Now, obviously, this type of growth won't last forever. I would expect us to come beneath this band at some point, but we'll probably refit it after the next market cycle to try to get a better fit for the following cycle. Right now, we're just using data from this first market cycle, the second market cycle, and then just this part of the third market cycle. We haven't even refit it to any of this data over here, but it still was able to accurately predict where Bitcoin came and bounced off of. So I think that if you're looking at the macro picture and you don't care about these short-term moves where even you can feel the pain, right? A lot of people can feel the pain with this move here, just like people felt the pain over here. And people, if you zoom in, there was a lot of pain with this move. There's a lot of pain with this move, or with this move here. When we came up to this region, there was a lot of fear when that said we're just going back down. But ultimately, this structure of the market has held up for over a decade, and until we really start to break that, and if Bitcoin were to just move sideways for 5 years, then obviously this regression band wouldn't be as predictive. But I wouldn't say that you should use this to necessarily say this is what the future is going to hold, but you can at least use it to inform your decisions or to try to provide some confidence to yourself that moves like the one that Bitcoin is in, it's just, while it may be spurred by something external, it's ultimately just another day in Bitcoin land. So I would take that into consideration. Now, clearly, if we go into a recession, then Bitcoin will have a true test in terms of what it's going to do. And we're not in a recession yet, but if that were to occur, we'll see what happens with the price of Bitcoin. But again, even in recent market conditions, with oil plunging 30% in a day and rebounding, the Dow Jones was down over 2,000 points today, 7%, which is the worst since the financial crisis. And looking at this price data with Bitcoin, we know that it's dropped from a local high of around 10.5 thousand down to just south of $8,000. The next clear, I would say, support region, if we were to drop from here, would be the 100-week moving average at around $7,200. But even then, we're still doing really well in terms of keeping to this regression band. We're not falling below it. The reason I'm making this video is because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, where do we fall on the logarithmic regression band? Have we fallen below it?" And guys, we're not even close. If you were to look at the bottom of the band, so our risk or our price tolerance here, and just look at, say, let's look at 2020. Scroll up. So this is 1,002, 3. We would have to get down to $4,000, maybe $4,000 to $5,000 to start going below the band. And remember, the 200-week moving average is at around $5,500. So even if we were to come down below this center line, you might want to think of the bottom region here is more or less corresponding to the 200-week moving average. So breaking the 200-week moving average would likely send us below this band. So I hope this is informative for people. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel. Check out the Telegram channel in the description below if you want to dive in further. And then also, if you want to support the channel and get some extra content, then check out the Patreon channel also in the description below. All right, guys, I'll talk to you next time. Bye.